The Michael Waddell Podcast is brought to you by Outdoor Channel and My Outdoor TV.
Because I was that guy that come from the country that was used to eating squirrel, catching fish, and I didn't throw bass back.
A California kid, the thought of eating squirrel casserole just makes my skin crawl. But Miss K invited us over for squirrel casserole one, and that's how we got to meet him.
Kirk, thank you so much for coming, buddy. What's been going on, man?
My pleasure. It's great to see you again.
You too.
I like the new place.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we had
This is beautiful.
mementos of adventures of past.
So, I don't know how my wife would feel about this many animals in my house.
She would be like mine probably. Why? We're down here.
This is why we're down in the barn.
Exactly, the house on the exactly. So my wife loves the animals and she likes to hunt a little bit too. But I think there's two mounts in my house, and it's specifically kind of like a Longhorn Steakhouse where you can tell she asked specifically for a brown bear and Alaskan moose. So that's the only two animals in my house.
Yeah. We were talking earlier that I didn't grow up hunting with my dad or my grandfather, anything like that. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. One of the things that I never realized is just how beautiful these animals are, because you only see them in pictures or from far, far away. But to see them up this close, I never would have appreciated it if it was, unless they were hunted,
right,
and then mounted like this.
Absolutely,
and that's with birds. That's with these kind of animals or fish or anything like that. They're absolutely gorgeous.
They are, and especially when here, I got in here I call it my little man room. It's got a lot of different species, and most of these animals in here, it's not all of my trophies, I would call it, or animals I've had a chance to hunt, but all of these kind of have a sentimental story, or like be one of a kind, like that sheep behind you I got in Mexico, down in Sonora, desert bighorn. I'll probably never get a chance to hunt one of those again in my life, and so just the people you meet, obviously. In every case, the venison and the meat just goes hand in hand, and most of us don't. And even me, I'm spoiled now. I don't, we're at a place where we can go to the grocery store, but man, you're talking about cool, and it feels really good to catch a mess of fish, or even coming home from elk camp and to call home and bring home a bunch of meat and for my kids and stuff. Or now all my kids hunt and have a chance to go, and it'll be their deer. Like I've got a little place on the hill here. We process all our own deer. Okay. So if you get a deer here on the farm, we'll come back, and it's just kind of a little family reunion. We sit around, tell stories, and of course, it's the only place when you get you a deer, you can exaggerate a little bit. So if the shot was 30 yards, you can always push it out to 100 if you want, however you want to do it. And then we set up, and I got a nice shrink wrap. This Meet Your Maker makes this really cool stuff that you can for residential use, but it's real commercially made stuff, and so. When you're done, you shrink wrap it, and you can write put your son's name. Like I'll put Waylon. He's 8. Waylon's doe, the back strap. And so when I thaw it out, man, you talking about swell up. They're coming from school like, hey, look here, Waylon, we're going to eat your deer back strap tonight. Like, glad I'm the man who brought that home to feed the family,
That's
so it's cool,
Man, well, we've been doing that actually at our house. So we just moved to Tennessee.
Yes.
I'm representing my new state from California about a year ago. And I became a grandfather since the last time I saw you.
Are you kidding me? I did not know that.
Our daughter had a little baby girl, so I'm a grandpa. And it was a big deal picking out my grandpa name, too, by the way. We'll get back to Tennessee and hunting in just a second.
What is it? What's your grandpa name? I got to know.
So my favorite grandfather was Pop-Pop. That's what we called Pop-Pop.
Yeah.
And Chelsea had no problem. Her grandma name is Coco. And I thought Pop-Pop kind of would go together with that pretty well.
Coco and
syllables, Pop-Pop. But I don't know, it just didn't really sound right when people were calling me Pop-Pop to kind of get me, kind of broken in with this new name. And in the South, people have funny grandpa names, like Peepaw, Papaw, Pawpaw.
Exactly.
And I was like, wait a minute. I'm not ready to go full Cracker Barrel just yet. I need some kind of a cool name. And then one of my buddies said that his dad has the grandkids call him Chief. Chief. And I thought, that's got a ring to it.
Yes.
I'm going to be Chief. So it's Coco and Chief. And my granddaughter's only 9 months old, so she's not come out with any names yet. So we'll see if it sticks. But we keep feeding her Chief.
So
Chief.
she's young enough you feed, because you're right. Sometimes you don't have a a say.
Yeah, you come up with a name, but they say a different name, and that's what sticks.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It could be, luckily, like Chelsea, they're calling her
Coco.
Coco, but
that's pretty
she
easy.
might be Shug by the end of
that's
it.
Right.
Shug, or something crazy. I think that's how those names come in the South. I don't think they're intentionally. I just think it's some made up kid's first words and somehow gets identified with the grandparent.
So I'm a happy grandfather. We love it. And it's great to see your kids when they begin. You've parented kids your whole life, and now you see them becoming parents.
Right.
And it's an awesome thing.
That's amazing.
My wife is in heaven. She gets to do it all over again, with the little one. But we moved from California about a year ago. I think after COVID and after all the craziness out there and you see all the riots and everything's happening out there now and the wildfires and, man, we decided to move to Tennessee to be with a few of our kids. Then all of our kids moved to Tennessee. So we have family dinners together every Sunday night in Tennessee, and we love it.
That is so cool. Well, I met James. James came here, and immediately I was asking him how much he enjoyed the South. And I didn't realize that he's guided out west and kind of from fishing to, he's definitely the adventurous outdoorsman.
He loves it. He spent a couple of years in
Tennessee and figuring it all out.
Well, they got me involved in the world of hunting. When they introduced me to you and the Bone Collector, the show, and then Duck Dynasty with duck hunting, and that's how we met the Robertsons. And then we've been going there around Christmas time for about the last 8 years to go duck hunting every year. And so we absolutely love it. And now James and I are working together on a new podcast that I just started about 2 months ago.
Nice.
And we're having a great time together. So we go duck hunting every year, and this last year was real special because we went about a month before Phil passed away.
Wow. Yeah.
And we had a very special experience. Can I just share a quick story?
No, I'd love to hear it. I love Phil.
So Phil was the patriarch,
right,
of the whole family, and he was the one that I really took to more so than anybody else because he just had so much wisdom and he was so committed to the right stuff. And anyway, we would always hope to have time with Phil in the midst of all the duck hunting and all the good times with the family and friends. And this time, we took my daughter's boyfriend with us, and he has been watching Phil's podcast for a long time, and it has been very inspirational to him in him coming to faith in the Lord. Because he had a real rough background as well, and his family situation and growing up in Texas, and so he was so inspired and thought maybe we'd get a chance to say hi to him. Well, he's been growing in his faith. And my daughter told me that he was interested in becoming baptized. And so I called Phil and Jace Robertson and said, hey, here's the situation. If the opportunity presents itself, is there any chance this guy could come get wet down at the river with Phil presiding over the baptism? And they said, let's go. Let's do it. So I talked to the young man while we were having coffee at sunset one night, and I asked him what he'd think about baptism. And he said that, man, he's ready. He wants to do it. And so we went over there, and Jace Robertson sat down with him for about an hour before they went to the river and said, listen, if you're just here because you think it's cool to have a Duck Dynasty guy baptize you, he said, then we're not going to do this.
Right. He
said, you tell me what baptism is about. And, he kind of gave a real simple answer, and he said, no. He says, this is not just something where you check the box and say your next step in your spiritual journey or an outward profession of your inward faith. He goes, we're going down there to have a funeral. We're about to bury an old man. He said, you tell me the name of the old man we're going to bury and why he needs to die.
Yeah.
It was the coolest thing. And
wow.
Phil, who has been sick, is just sitting there watching his son speak to a young man about the beginning of his spiritual journey. And you could tell he was so proud of him because Jace just took over. I think
kind of speaking of chief, kind of is taking over that chief position.
That's right. And he said, you need to go bury an old man. And if you're not ready to have that funeral, then we're not going down there because you're just wasting your time and I'm wasting my time. And then he finally said, I'm ready to bury the old man. And so they got up and we all walked down to the river And I've got a picture that I'll share with Ryan, and it's just a beautiful picture. And there he is in the water with Jason, his camo waders, his duck waders.
Holy cow!
And he's dunking him in the water while Phil is just sitting there by the river's edge, watching him, praying for him, taking it all in. And he came out, the old man buried, the new man risen to new life, and it was a memory I'll never forget. And then it was probably just a month later that Phil passed away.
It's so crazy that almost even then, it sounds like from that description, Phil almost knew. It's almost there was a part of he was just looking on like, okay, I could do all of this, but it's important. Jace has got this, and he was proud to see that in that case with your family to be able to watch that. That's pretty touching story, actually.
I think that's what he lived for.
I do too.
And he said it so many times in so many ways. He was always about the gospel. No matter where you went, no matter who he talked to, that's all he really wanted to discuss. And then getting you baptized, of course. And he even made that video that went viral where he said, one day you're going to hear that Phil Robertson is gone. Mm-hmm. And he always said, it's not goodbye, it's just see you later.
Yeah.
And he talked about that death is coming to everybody, and it's the final act of redemption, that I'm going to go and be with Jesus forever, and I'm going to have my spiritual body. I'm going to be free from sin and pain and all these things. And he's saying, this is what it's all about, and one day I'm going to be there. And of course,
golly,
he was there.
He was
As you're
there.
watching that video, he was gone. He did relocate.
I think that's what I love the most about his testimony and the way he could pull people into the Christian faith and believing in Jesus is because it's funny. Just prior to you arriving, we were talking, some of our producers, we were just chatting about everything that's going on in the world. And even going back into the COVID situation, there was a part of me that I felt that even the church failed during this COVID because the fear of death becomes so viral that it was scaring people in the case of passing away. But every time I'd ever talk with Phil specifically, and there was one preacher, the guy that led me to Christ when I was 12, his name was Brother Gordy, and he was an older guy then, and he'd always love that song, "What a day it will be when my Jesus I shall see." And he sang that. He would sing that. He said, "I know y'all might not want to hear it, but I'm going to sing a special." He'd sing that song. Yeah. And on his deathbed, I remember having a chance to see him there toward the end, and he was so peaceful and so almost excited. Like,
see, that's how I want to be.
Yes. And I can't say that I just look at death and I'm not at all, because I'm selfishly, there's a lot I want to do. I got pit bikes out there. I got kids. I was hoping y'all could be here longer and we could eat some chicken and we could go ride pit bikes. Obviously, you got a lot going on, but so selfishly, I want to be here to enjoy what is here. You know, you get your life set to where you feel like it's good, but at the end of the day, Phil represented that. He always knew that I'm just passing through, but my journey is going to end to the best place ever.
That's right.
And so it made you think deep to realize we're all going to get old. And then I heard an old Jerry Reed song the other day. It said, "We all going to die." And it was talking about dieting, doing this and that. And it was more of a humorous, funny song. Yeah. But Phil always had that about him. Like, this is about where are you going? What's your journey? We don't have to be afraid. Live your life best you can. And he just had that quality about him. And even though he was polarizing, he was an intimidating man, Phil Robertson was. Yeah. But he was a loving intimidation. It's hard to explain. Yeah. It's almost like when you did wrong. I remember I went through a stage of my career to where I knew I remember thinking like, man, at this whole hunting industry, I don't want to run into Phil Robertson.
That's right.
And I remember Jace called me and he talked me through that point in my life. And it was so unique, but it was with loving discipline and a reminder of what you're capable of. Always remind me of like a football coach or something who maybe they're going to push you a little harder, but they see that you can do better. And Phil had that quality about him, but he just had such a peace about his passing. And selfishly, you know, we all going to miss him, but it's almost like he basically said, "Celebrate, man," which is, you know, shoot, I'm where I need to be and where I want to be and where I knew I would be with Jesus, you know. So
Michael, what you're describing right there is the definition of meekness. Meekness in the Bible. Some people confuse meekness with weakness. You know, Jesus, gentle Jesus, meek and mild. They think, oh, kind of weak and soft. It's the opposite of that. When the Bible talks about the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, kind of meekness. Meekness is power under control. It's what Jesus was. Jesus was meek. He had the power and authority as the Son of God to command legions of angels, and yet he was perfectly submissive to the Father's will. And the description in a picture is like that moose behind you. Imagine if you had a moose that was perfectly trained. It is the picture of immense power and capability of great damage. But imagine if you could saddle that thing up and it was perfectly trained to submit to every wish of its rider. It's like a war horse that can do great damage, but it is only willing to do what its master tells him to do. And that's what I felt Phil was like. He was a guy that would scare you by looking at him, and you knew what he was capable of, but he was good, and he was loving, and he was kind, just like Jesus. And that's what I think we're called to be as men. Not weak men, but meek men who have capability to protect, to be dangerous, and to inflict damage in the right places, like people trying to hurt your family, people trying to sabotage your country. And you want to put the fear of God into the forces of darkness, but you're not evil. You're good.
Correct. Yeah, kind of like where you hear people say it's kind of an overused cliche, but don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yeah, right.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Don't mistake my meekness for weakness. I mean, meekness and weakness is actually a form of strength, actually, because sometimes it's harder to remain, especially in certain situations, to remain meek when it'd be easier to turn into a completely different creature. And you're right. Phil had that. I think that is what Phil Robertson had. He had a certain power and presence, but an unbelievable kind.
He'd give you the shirt off his back.
Absolutely.
I think he'd lay down his life for somebody if he knew that might bring them to Jesus. That's
Exactly.
what he lived for.
But he never minded calling things straight up and straight out. And that was maybe that was a polarized.
That's what got him in trouble.
Yeah.
But that's what made us love him.
Just what made him love him.
Authentic.
He was not.
I remember asking him one time at his house, but it was really a trailer.
Yeah.
You know, and you thinking, Phil, why do you still live in this double wide trailer?
Yeah.
I mean, you're Phil Robertson. You got a show called Duck Dynasty, like, right? You know, you see Willie in this house, and Jay, everybody's got the big
enjoying the wealth that came.
The big truck and the house, and he just said, "How many toilets does a man need?" How big a bed? He goes, if I have a bigger bed and a bigger house, it just means it's gonna. I gotta chase. There's more room for my wife to get away. I have to chase her around longer distance. I like these little quarters.
Smaller areas.
And he said he said one thing has changed though. And he's sitting there in his white tank top with his camo pants, barefoot and a bandana, and you know, in his little trailer. He said the one thing that has changed is that we have a better menu.
Better menu,
because before it was just squirrel and catfish, you know, whatever he could catch.
That's right.
And now he said we have a nicer menu. We have a few other things.
I tell you, man,
him.
even working in this hunting industry, and it's cool to be able to talk about Phil, and especially your experience of those guys getting y'all into duck hunting, and I can imagine how cool that would be. But in the hunting industry, it's like I was always a huge fan of Duck Commander, even way before Duck Dynasty. I mean, Phil had those first of its kind movie type of duck hunting VHS tapes. And I remember as a kid, I was younger than James, and watching those and the way they did things, it was so real and so authentic. And it was almost like a motion picture even then. And the things they would say, the little one-liners, and then as it led to them producing Duck Dynasty, Jace and Willie and all the guys, Justin, all those guys, you know, was involved in that. And then that spun to Duck Dynasty, but those guys have always been some of the most unique, authentic, just great people to be around. And being that I grew up really rural and country, I related to the Robertsons, you know, especially the Phil and the Si, because they felt like uncles to me.
Yeah.
I felt like, you know, you was going to probably eat squirrel and gravy. You're going to have some sweet tea in an old Tupperware cup or something. And so for me, it was a down home feeling. They made me as a young guy in the hunting industry. I just felt like part of their family because I was that guy that come from the country that was used to eating squirrel, catching fish, and you know, I didn't throw bass back.
See, a California kid, the thought of eating squirrel casserole just makes my skin crawl. You know?
No.
But Miss K invited us over for squirrel casserole one, and that's how we got to meet him. And sure enough, they had a squirrel. I mean, it was all like stretched out on the top of that casserole, you know, underneath whatever it was, a bunch of stuffing or whatever y'all put underneath, and then that squirrel just laid out there.
Just laid out there. I remember, in fact, there was a line that Phil said. He shot a duck one time, and I thought it was the coolest line. He said, "Ain't nothing pretty an old, I think it was a greenhead. Ain't nothing pretty an old greenhead duck or something." And of course, I'm gonna get it wrong. Any duck commander guys are gonna be like, "No, Waddell, he said this." But I just remember he said, "Ain't nothing pretty in that old duck, that old greenhead coming in here flying like that." He said, "But I think it'd be pretty to see his feet sticking out of some gravy."
Yeah.
And he left it at that, like he was excited about eating his duck, you know. And I just thought that was such a cool line. But man,
well, I got a question for you. When we harvested a deer or two, we brought it all home. We processed it with a friend who kind of showed us how to do it. Man, that's not easy, especially for a first timer. You know, I got a dull knife. I'm doing it on like a card table, and like, you know, I don't have the setup. I don't have the setup yet. But we figured out, you know, the hams, and we've got the back strap, and all that. Like, that's pretty. We got that. What do you do with all that leg meat?
Oh, the leg meat, like,
and what do you do? Yeah.
You know,
the
it's
shoulder
funny.
meat and stuff. Like, what do you do with all that?
It's funny. And of course, I'll always get myself in trouble with some of the hardcore hunt community. But typically, and this has been that way a while, but like say in Georgia and the South, we got a lot of deer. Most time you do what you call quarter an animal up. So it's the shoulders, the back strap, and the and the hams, and then you get the internal tenderloins, which is right around the internal. But a lot of times it depends on who I'm butchering a deer for. But like most of the time, I will get all the neck meat, you know. But all the rib meats on a white-tailed deer, I usually don't even mess with them that much. And then you got, you know, down there in the shoulder, I'll usually just debone all that all the way down to the kind of the shank of that deer's leg, and usually that some of that meat can get kind of a little more sinewy. Yeah. So I'll cube it or do stuff like that. And 90% of all the deer I butcher, I'll just cube and grind. So I just grind it, you know, make sausage out of it, hamburger meat.
90%.
I'd say 90%.
Except
and then
what,
I cube steak, and I do cube steak, you know, where you cut up the steaks, and then I run it through a cuber, which kind of tenderizes it. Great for like chicken fried steak. It's good. I wrap that stuff up. You get you a good piece of cubed deer meat, and man, you just let that set in Italian dressing, maybe not even long. You ain't even got to do that. And I'll wrap it up and put a jalapeno, a little cream cheese, and throw it on the grill, and maybe an onion. And son, you'll have a PETA members just eating that stuff. They'll come off a diet.
Come on, when's dinner?
It's so good. It's so good. But that's and I noticed that, speaking of you coming from California, Tennessee now, and getting into hunting a little bit, I noticed the last, I would say, probably has been since COVID, around COVID to now, I've had more personalities, specifically California, what I would call who grew up in, you know, same in New York City. I got friends and entertainers that in passing we met because I'd have one buddy they was friends with, and I was kind of the hunter guy. But I've had more people that's wanting to learn, especially men, like, wait a minute, I want to learn how to hunt. It's not because I'm really excited about necessarily just going to shoot something. I just realized this is a man skill that I know nothing about.
That's right.
And I was just wondering, have you got a lot of your friends in LA still, or people that you grew up in the city with that's kind of like, man, I don't know nothing about this, I'd like to learn? Or is it still kind of way out there to them?
Yeah. I would say most of the people that I knew in California were not hunters. So they'd be in the same camp. I don't know how to do that.
Not even in the radar, really, is it?
Not even in the radar. Yeah. No. Had a couple of guys who would take us deer hunting. You know, they were military, or they were mountain guys who lived up in Yosemite Valley. But most of them, no. I don't think, I never went hunting with my dad. My grandfather took me fishing, but that was about it. And I think there is a growing number of people who realize that when something like COVID hits or something worse, we're not only just going to be out of, eggs and toilet paper, but like we could be out of like food and medicine and all kind of things. And so we need to have certain kinds of basic family survival skills, and we need to have a community of people where we can, partner up together and get through some difficult times. And every self-respecting man wants to know how to kill an animal and provide it, as food for the family. Right. So it's exciting too.
I definitely think that. I grew up kind of took it for granted. No different than somebody grows up in the city, takes advantage of the amenities of the city. Yeah. I likewise was just as blown away coming and just something simple as getting a cab. Like, dude, there are people just pick you up. Like, I tell the story all the time of I remember the first time I went to a nice restaurant and we ordered an appetizer. I was like calling home. I've told that story 1,000 times, on a bunch of podcasts of like, I couldn't believe it. I'm calling home like, Dad, you're not going to believe everybody eats in the city before you eat. Like, they're ordering cheese sticks and this stuff. Calamari, I think it's squid. Like, what are we doing? Like, we got all this bread, and I think they call it ceviche, or I don't know what all we ate, but I was completely stuffed before my meal came out. And but likewise, the stuff I took for granted are
we knew nothing about.
Going with my pawpaw to go rabbit hunt for an afternoon.
I'll confess this.
Yeah,
when you texted me and said, "Come on over, bring your kids. We got pit bikes," I said, "What in the world's a pit bike?"
What's a pit bike?
I looked it up on my phone, and they said, "Well, it's a small motorcycle, often used for going around in a pit of mud." And I was like, "Okay, all right, I know what are we doing? I'm going to act like I know what a pit bike was all along." You know what else I didn't know was these crazy traditions that you have, not just you, but in the South, that if you shoot your first deer, you got to eat a piece of the heart,
or a piece of bite. Mostly the heart. Yeah,
and so we did that. With who did we take, James? Who did we just take that ate the heart? No, E-Dubs. Everett, my nephew. He shot his first deer, and he took that heart and just went, I mean, just a big old bite like an apple, and he just did it. Yeah.
You know what? You got to be careful, though, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. Some of these old guys in Tennessee that's up there hanging out, you got to be careful of these Southern guys. They come across as not super smart at times, but they're very intelligent to manipulate you to think there's some tradition. So next thing you know, come on, boy, get you a bite of that liver too. That's what we all do. And just completely got their fingers crossed, knowing they've never done that. Or white blood on you. A lot of them.
My son, Luke, he did it, but made his friend that he brought with him eat it with him at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And the friend was like, no problem. And then Luke was just like... And he's got a real weak stomach anyway, so he was not doing well for a while.
That's awesome.
Oh, so
it is amazing.
We're loving it.
We're going to stop for a quick break, but please don't go anywhere. We got so much to come.
The Michael Waddell Podcast is brought to you by Outdoor Channel and My Outdoor TV. Watch Bone Collector and other great outdoor shows anytime, anywhere. Use promo code Waddell30 at myoutdoortv.com to try it free today.
It's such chaos right now, and some, not just LA, a lot of the big cities. It's like I think that's just it. I really don't get as mad at looking into it. You watch a lot of the media, or I guess the old-fashioned news stations. Sometimes it's like, I don't know if they're wanting to make me mad or aggravate me with what I see. But now I think so. But I start almost feeling sorry because I'm thinking, it's just simple. I don't think a lot of these people in connection, and not to sound like some hippie rubbing on an emerald, but they ain't in tune with the universe and nature. And I think soon
you got to read the room.
The
people in the United States of America just gave you a great big clue about what's important to them when they elected the last president at the election.
Amen.
Right? And there's a big shift and a big turn. And the riots, we see the riots happening in Los Angeles, and this is not new. Remember 5 years ago in Minneapolis and in Seattle and in Oregon, you have these, you can't come in here, police. We're going to burn down your buildings, and we're going to do all this anarchy. And the mayor of Minneapolis referred to it as the summer of love. These peaceful protests with a few rascals out there that did some. right?
The summer of love. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like if it were a movie, the movie poster is like, the whole world is on fire.
Yeah.
And it's against everything that the people of America want. And now it's like they're trying to bring out the sequel with what's going on in Los Angeles. And now we've got military and everything else having to put this down. And they want to say, these are mostly people who are just enjoying the spectacle of watching a car burn. And you've got some evil president trying to turn it into a national crisis with Marines.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I can't think of a crazier spin on what's happening, but that's what politicians and people that have lots of power and money do, is they spin a story to get you to look at something a certain way, to make you afraid, to make you angry,
yes,
and get you to react in an unwise way, and then they'll use it against you to advance their agenda. And just being in Hollywood, I'm in the movie-making, storytelling business. I'm also in the media, so I know that you need to get ratings. And
right.
if it
entertainment,
bleeds, it leads.
Right.
If it's sex, if it's violence, if it gets you to be afraid, that will make them money. And so that's why you see it over and over and over. They'll play the victim card,
yeah,
and they'll get you to have sympathy towards somebody, and all they're doing is they're really playing you. And so you got to be in touch with who you are, who your friends are. You got to know what's right and what's wrong. You got to be connected with God and do the right thing no matter the cost. If we all do that, things are going to be all right.
It's going to work out. And there's a lot of things to even unpack about what you just said, but it seems obvious to me that the closest in entertainment reminds me of WWE, like wrestling. You always got the heel.
Yep.
You got whether it's the Ric Flairs, the Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Hulk Hogan's, you got and they'll shift sometimes. You notice, like, sometimes this guy will be the good guy.
Yeah.
And then he'll shift into the heel. But at the end of the match, whether they left bloody or whether it was fake blood, they kind of all went to the same place and had dinner, just like you're going to do here at Firefly when y'all go celebrate a great work of. It's almost like they did. Like, man, did we do good?
Are high-fiving behind the curtain after the show's over.
Did you hear what I said about you?
Yeah,
you know I didn't mean it, but people are going to love that.
Yeah, that's right. They're pouring each other drinks, and that's what's happening in politics. Is it's almost theater, like you said. Like,
feels like theater.
Wrestling.
It's like any movie you've been in. You got the heel
because people will pay to watch a fight. We have paid boxing matches and MMA matches because everybody loves a fight. And political fights are very consequential. It determines destinies of nations and futures of families. And when that amount of power and money is involved, it's scary, the things that people will do to get what they want. And it could end up in World War III, and these are the things that we're actually watching in the news right now with what's going on in Israel and Iran and Russia and Ukraine and China and North Korea.
I know.
This stuff is no joke.
It's no joke. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever been probably as heavy as right now. Like, one is...
I think you look slim and fit right now.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. But what's true and what's not true, what's right, what's wrong. I mean, obviously, it's obvious what's right. But even this whole thing with Iran and Israel, and I heard just the other day, I think it was Tucker and Ted Cruz just a couple of days ago, were just talking about all that. And then I self-admit, growing up in church, it's like, in Bible school or wherever it was you heard it, you always felt that, okay, at the end, Israel certainly is going to win. But I almost kind of trying to figure out, what is all of that in the prophecy and these? I literally, for the last several nights, I went to bed praying like, man, I don't know. And then you hear, man, we don't need to go to war with Iran. Well, they got nukes. And then you hear death to America and then death to this and that. And then I was like, what's right and what's wrong? And I'm thinking,
it's hard to discern those things now.
Decipher what, from a biblical context to right and wrong. And I'm sure there's a lot of corruptness within the Israel politics, no different than America. And it's everywhere.
People are people. Where there's people, there's problems. The heart is wicked and deceitful above all things, the scriptures say. And it's only the gospel that can remove that that heart of stone and replace it with a heart that beats for the things that God's heart beats for.
Right.
So we should pray for Israel, but we should pray for Russia and China and North Korea and Ukraine and Iran and everywhere else. Some of the nicest, most godly Christians I've ever met have come out of the Middle East. They've come out of Russia. They've come out of all these places. In fact, remember, Christianity didn't start in America. It started in the Middle East. It started right there in Jerusalem. Right there where Jesus died. And it spread from there to the rest of the world. And so we got to be on our knees. Remember that God is in his heaven. He's in control. We can only influence the things that we can influence. I'm not going to decide whether or not we go to war. I can vote. I can help decide who gets in there to represent my values, and I can influence people in my community. I can lead my family either well or poorly. I can run my business the way that God would want me to. And then at the end of the day, I got to remember that some things I can't control, so I don't want to stress out about it, or it will make me ineffective as a husband and a father. And I can trust that God's working all things together for the good of those who love him.
I think that's, at the end, that is the only thing that we can stand on, because to me, I never thought I'd see that time for me of understanding what I don't even understand. Like you think you got a good grips on it. And that Israel thing really threw me for a loop, because in my mind I'm thinking, well, you kind of got to stand with Israel. Then I'm thinking, well, do you? Does that mean we jump in and start blowing up Iran? You're right. There's humans there. There's good people there. They got bad regimes. They got good regimes. There's good people
in our own country.
We've got the same trouble. Exactly.
We got people who love God and love this country, and then we got people in here who don't.
That are dead against it. That are complete, basically demonic. Yeah. They're dead against God, it seems, you know.
Yeah, and there's a friend of mine once said, hey, remember, those people that disagree with you, they're not the enemy, they're the opportunity. They're not the enemy, they're the opportunity. God knows who his enemies are. God says, vengeance is mine. He said, you know what? There'll come a time where I will separate the sheep from the goats, the grain from the weeds. Don't go pulling up everything right now, because you might pull up some of the good stuff. Just speak the truth in love. Do the right thing. Don't let people just, destroy your family or destroy your country. You stand for what's right. But in the end, God will take care of the business he's going to take care of.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think it was Johnny Cash. Obviously he lived a long, adventurous life and icon figure, but at the end, I think he had some famous quote. Again, I won't get the quote perfect, but basically, like, out of all the things he tried to find, to find the truth, he found that Jesus was the only truth. And I thought that was an unbelievable quote from him that kind of framed it up, because, man, he'd seen it all.
He did.
Everything crazy and wild to everything at the end. You could tell that, he certainly loved his gospel music.
And at the end, he sang that gospel album, I think, at the very end.
Yes.
That had so many good songs. And wasn't one of his albums, or maybe it was a song, I think it was a whole album called Empire of Dirt.
That might be correct.
I think so. I mean, that thought really has stuck with me, that apart from honoring God and living a life of serving other people, my life, it was just an empire of dirt. Mm-hmm. Like we can build a career, we can build an ego, we can build a bank account, but at the end of the day, what can I take with me to heaven? What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and he loses his own soul? It's an empire of sand, of dirt.
I agree. And I think that's the riddle. When you find that out, that you're not going to be in control and you don't know, and you really, that's where the wisdom comes. I think so many people intellectually try to figure out every little detail of or control. And it kind of, the more you dig in, you realize you don't really have much control. And really, like I said, you got an empire of dirt, and we're going to go somewhere else when it's said and done. It's not about a mansion. It's not about the material things that you build. It's all such a fleeting flash in the pan, so to speak,
Yeah, and Michael, what's so cool to me is that, we started talking about that moose behind your head that's like breathing down your neck right now.
I know it. Yeah.
And how beautiful these animals are. And it's so cool that we can talk about God, we can talk about politics, we can talk about family in the context of hunting.
Correct.
Which is a skill that people ought to know to be able to provide for your family. I mean, all of this is a blessing from God. He's provided, think of it, millions and millions and millions of pounds of high quality protein and fat in the form of beautifully designed creatures that speak of his power and his majesty. And we can appreciate all of that and give thanks for it as we sit down and have a meal with our families so that we can serve one another.
Yes.
I mean, this is the way life ought to be lived.
And the substance to be here. I think that's just it. Sometimes in the confusion of everything that's going on, of whatever it is that we're all pushing toward, for me, the outdoors, and kind of a simple thought of life. You know, you think about it, you get the most, when you get so stressed with, it doesn't matter if you're working on a Christian project or you're working on in my case, a project for hunting, of entertainment. You get to a place where sometimes you just want to escape. And that's when you think, man, I just want to go camping with the youngins. Go down to the creek, go fishing. You know, you got a beautiful, nice home that's air conditioned. Sometimes our wives are not quite as excited. Like, let's just go throw up a tent and go down there and hang out. And
I love it.
And throw a hatchet and a stump, or maybe we should call Waddell and see if we ought to go hunt the farm or something. For me, that's where so much of what I can't figure out, I get back to why all of it isn't for me to figure out. But then when I can see nature, understand the balance, and then when I start realizing that all of this crazy stuff that goes around me, and I can put it out of my head, and I can get, man, on my front porch up there, I'll sit sometimes, and I've been guilty of enjoying a really good cigar, and I'll get out there, and I'll be thinking, I don't know everything that's going on, but thank you for this opportunity. If the lights go out, I'm going to have some youngins, and my wife's not going to be happy because they're going to be in this Georgia heat, but we going to survive. If I can't go to the grocery store and I can't get no chicken breast or a ribeye steak, again, my wife and youngins probably ain't going to be so excited.
You got a lot of meat in that freezer.
I got a lot of meat. We're good for
you'll last a while.
And we're going to be overeating because we have to eat it before it goes bad.
Invite us over so we can come have some with you.
You ain't far from Tennessee.
We're not far from
Tennessee. We'll meet
halfway.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It brings me a certain peace. But it also helps me understand I don't have to know it all. I just have to know this circle of life that the good Lord put all these renewable resources, and we have enough to make it. But I think that quickly gets lost in the big cities because you're so dependent on these services.
That's right.
Whether it's a Starbucks, whether it is the grocery store, and kind of when you understand the country life and the simple life, it kind of helps you realize I'm going to be okay, and we'll make it. And I don't know, it just for me, it just, when I get confused, I can always go to the woods and put my back to a big old white oak tree and listen to the birds and pay attention. And it always, that verse of be still, know I'm God, it never has not worked. Never has not worked.
Man, take me with you.
I know. And you can't, and I can't imagine somebody in New York City, you can't do that. I mean, you can go to that little park, that famous park.
And just outside the city, there's beautiful New York.
Oh, God, you just get out of New York. And upstate New York
gorgeous.
is some of the most unbelievable hunting. And like I say, there's some country folks up in upstate New York, too.
Michael, you were talking about how you can't know everything and you can't figure out all the problems in the world, but you and your family are going to be okay if you're taking care of the main things, and if you're together in community with others. I've got this little recipe for mental peace in my mind, and this isn't some woo-woo new age weirdo thing, and it fits perfectly with my Christian biblical faith.
Right.
Okay, but I just pictured this in my mind. And I remembered it because of the alliteration of the letters. I think of a target where you got the bullseye circle, and then you got a bigger circle, and then a wider circle and a wider circle. And I think of that center circle is the smallest. And I say to myself, I wake up in the morning, and I sit on that porch like you do with a cup of coffee, and I savor the small. I savor the small, the little intimate moments with my kids, with my wife, with my God in prayer, with the Word of God, watching a deer walk across the grass or watching a sunrise or a sunset. I savor the small, and it fills my heart with gratitude. Then I make much of the medium. And that medium circle that's my work. That's my sphere of influence. It's where I can go and just, put in a full day doing the things where I can make a difference, and I'm going to give it my all for the day, and I'm going to make much of that. And that's my responsibility. Then I'm going to let go of the large. That larger circle is what's going on right now in Israel and Iran.
Right.
I can't influence that in my day. I'm going to let go of that because God's put other people in charge to make those decisions. And then I'm going to celebrate the cosmic. That's the largest circle, the cosmic circle that encompasses the whole universe. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that God is working all things, including the wars, including the financial struggles or the relational difficulties or whatever problems my kids are. He's working it all together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And that covers everything. The small things that I can savor, the medium things I can make much of, the large things I can just let go of, and then the cosmic things say it's all going to be okay because God's writing the story. And then I've got mental peace.
I think you described the best way to look at it because it's a very simple, like I said, that's a very simple solution to some things.
I need things simple.
I do too.
Because life is complicated.
I mean, look at me, Kurt. I hunt for a living. I have to keep it somewhat simple. I'm not saying I don't read plenty of books and try to be educated, but at the same time, I finally realized, and I think that's even in some cases, as I was even talking about this whole Iran and, obviously a lot of the prophecy and a lot of people coming on like, this is it. This is it. The end of times.
They're ready
Armageddon's
for the
coming.
whole
And I'm
sky
thinking,
to collapse.
And it very well could be. I mean, I can see where some of the prophecy, okay, well, it does say this could happen, that could happen. But some of those things have happened also thousands of years ago that could also been prophetic. We just lived in a air-conditioned America eating McDonald's that we didn't even see what happened back then.
When we think there are no eggs at Kroger, we think the apocalypse is coming the next hour.
Exactly. I always tell people too, like, I have studied a lot because the Civil War, which was fought a lot in the South and up through the Northeast, I've often thought, I think the numbers between 800 and 900,000 Americans passed away here. I mean, there's old battlefields scattered all through the South, all the way up through Virginia.
We got a big one in Tennessee at the Battle of Franklin.
That's correct. That's correct. And so when you think about that, I'm sure, even though it didn't have to do with Iran and whatever.
They were thinking the same thing.
They had to have been thinking end of times.
How about World War II?
Well, can you imagine?
World War II, where you've got Japan coming at you on this side, and you've got Germany trying to take over the world on that side. I mean, think of even before that. Think of the Roman Empire. Think of so many things that were so much worse. I mean, here you and I are standing here with high-tech microphones. We're surrounded by beautiful animals, neon lights, and a latte, and we're crying in our Chick-fil-A soup because, there's wars going on. But these wars have been going on forever and ever and ever. And I think they will continue to go on until sin is rooted out of the human heart. And so my hope is in the gospel and the advancing of the kingdom of God. And I'm not concerned about trouble in the world because Jesus says, take heart, I've overcome the world.
Mm-hmm. Basically, he's already declared victory.
Yeah,
we already know the outcome.
Yeah, someone once said, Kirk, we're not fighting for victory. We're fighting from victory. Jesus said, all authority has been given to me. Now go, make disciples of all the nations, and I'll be with you to the end of the age.
So basically, even to help me with, because you're right. I promise you, right after, and I'm not lying, and I do not ever like when I get on social media and get into that, I don't know if it's clickbait, what you'd call it, but about that time, this whole Iran and thing come up and like, we're coming, and Trump said, everybody get out or, evacuate. And then about that time, I think it was Tucker, come on, and I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness, where are we at? What should we do? What's the right way? Are we? And then finally, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and only thing I would know, I'd catch myself reading, and I'd just pray about it. And then finally, I think you're right. That falls into that large category. I mean, we're fighting from victory. As long as we know that, you almost have to let it go to a degree, I guess. Obviously, Trump and those guys still have a heck of a job on their hand, but that's why they hired to do that. And
that's right. And God put you to be the bone collector. God put me to be a guy reading books in public libraries to children about Christian values or making a kids' TV show. And he put Trump where he put Trump. And he put Putin where he put Putin. The scriptures tell us God raises up empires and kings, and he deposes them and flattens them. I think that we need to continue to do what the scriptures tell us, and that is we don't put our hope in princes. Mm-hmm. We don't put them in men. We put our hope in the Lord, and then we take care of our tiny little piece of the kingdom that he's put us in charge of. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's my family, and that's my work. And I'm proud to be an American, and I'm going to vote, and I'm going to try to get good people in charge. Beyond that, I know that God is doing amazing things all around us, and that he didn't come all the way from heaven to earth to lose. He came to win.
Right. It is amazing. There's one thing that you said to me that really hit home several years ago when we met, and it was around Camp Firefly and how people that know about Camp Firefly know that you and your family and staff of people do amazing work with labeled, in so many cases, terminally ill kids.
Right.
But I quickly realized, even saying that, you don't even like that title, and I got to thinking about it. There's no way we as men can declare that, because we're putting this in front of somebody that's way stronger than us, so there's no way we can go ahead and call that.
That's right.
The chance of survival, the chance of miracles are way greater than, even though we got some great physicians, just because it's like, no, we're basically celebrating somebody that has a bad hand to deal with right now, but Jesus and God, they know the outcome. I don't.
That's right.
I know, I heard of the bad news, and we're going to make good of this time that they're going through this possible hell on earth.
Yeah, that's right.
And you I don't know if you realize when you said that, I kind of quit using that term, terminal. I don't like that, because you're right. I mean, and then it even hit deeper as we talked about Phil Robertson. We're one day closer. The only guarantees what is the wages of our sins is death.
Yeah.
We're still here. Good Lord's got us here now. So if you think about it, there's not a lot different, but he decides when for me and you, as well as any kid that's over there at Camp Firefly. And I just love the way y'all celebrate that. And it's not about the bad news. It's about making good of a tough time. And but again, what's frustrating about what happens, I feel like, not to beat up on us Americans at times, but you're right. You will see the most god-awful argument over, I ordered a spicy Chick-fil-A sandwich. This is an original.
That's right.
I mean, and people have went off their rocker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Just give them 10 seconds and they'll give you the hot sandwich and take back the original.
Yeah.
They might even give you 2 sandwiches just to get you out of the line.
Because they're super nice.
It's the end of the world for them.
I'll be honest, I get a little fired up when they forget the pickles.
Yeah.
I mean, what's a Chick-fil-A without that little pickle in there?
That is true. You got to have the pickles. Man, I need a couple little pickles or one big one.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Camp Firefly has been a blessing in our life. And we just finished up a week with the 6 precious families. We missed them already. They just went back on a bus back to St. Jude's Hospital and then back to their homes.
Wow.
And they're going to continue dealing with cancer, with extremely difficult circumstances that affect not only that one child, but the whole family dynamic and the struggle and pressure it puts on a marriage. You wouldn't believe the divorce rates of couples who have children with cancer and life-altering illnesses because of
it's not talked about a lot.
The strain is immense. So pray for them if you think of it.
Yes.
Because they're precious families, and this was kind of a recharge. It was a reset for them to then now go back in for whatever life has in store for them.
That is absolutely amazing that y'all do that, and locally, you and your family and staff is so loved, because obviously one good thing about the South, they're very gracious. You can meet somebody off the side of the road and they're inviting you in to eat dinner with them. You know, everybody's so hospitable. Not many locked doors around here, and so to know what y'all have done, not just this year, but I mean, how long? Y'all been doing that for
35
30-something years now.
35
years.
I was 19 years old working on Growing Pains the first time.
You was just a kid down here.
I was just a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And my wife and I weren't even married. We were dating. And,
Yeah.
and she came with my parents and my siblings. And we did this camp at here in South Georgia. And it's been 35 years. So we've been coming here to this family resort longer than most people who are on staff at the resort. And so we tell them what it was like in the beginning. And you're right, the hospitality in the South is awesome. And just the nature here, the forests, the lakes, the streams, the wildlife, the flowers, it's just, it's a beautiful thing.
We're just getting started. Hold on. We got a little bit more coming after this.
The Michael Waddell Podcast is brought to you by Outdoor Channel and My Outdoor TV. Watch Bone Collector and other great outdoor shows anytime, anywhere. Use promo code Waddell30 at myoutdoortv.com to try it free today.
Your start as an actor, you was what, 8 or 9 when you first started acting?
Yep.
How did you?
9 years old.
I know it's redundant of you to tell that story, but what got you into that first acting gig? Is that something you dreamed of, or is just by accident?
I never wanted to be an actor. In school, I liked when we would dissect a frog. Mm-hmm. And when we would like talk about human anatomy. And so I wanted to be a doctor. I thought that was going to be my deal. But when I was about 14, my mom had a friend of hers whose son was an actor on a TV show called 8 is Enough. And she would always say to my mom, take your kids down, have them audition in front of this agent, and just see what happens. So my mom did. The agent said, hey, I'm going to give your son a try. And I was about 9 years old, and I started auditioning and getting jobs for like McDonald's, Fruit Roll-Ups, Tide detergent. And then I landed this role on Growing Pains, a brand new show with this talk show host named Alan Thicke from Canada who played the dad. And the show took off. And so I never really liked acting. I never wanted to be an actor, but it worked. And I was able to save up money for college. I ended up never going to college to become the doctor I wanted to become. And then I got married to my on-screen girlfriend. Wow. Chelsea and I have now been married for 35 years. We're now grandparents with 6 kids. And I'm sitting here talking to the Bone Collector. I mean, how much better does it get?
What a journey. I mean, even me, obviously, I was such a fan of what you did then. And we're close in age. And you might have me by a year or two, but, but not much. But during that same time frame, I was a big fan of everything you was doing, a lot of the movies you was. But it's really cool to hear that story of the fact, because that it's like it wasn't like top of mind that one day I'm gonna be an actor.
No, and I know there's so many people who are just dying to, just give me a shot, put me in and I'll kill it, and they want to win an Academy Award or something, and I never wanted to do any of that. But I'm sure it's like that with people in your profession or athletes and others. It's like
absolutely,
they just have a natural ability and they get the opportunity and they do it. And sometimes you just think, man, there's people who work a lot harder to get where you are, that you wish you could give them the opportunity, but it's just, God's got something different for them.
I was going to say, I get back to, I do 100% believe in faith that it is a God thing, because similar. I mean, I always grew up hunting and fishing, but I couldn't have told you there was a way to make a living.
It's not like you dreamed of having a podcast and a show and having sponsor. You didn't.
About the only like weird, and I talked about this the other day with a country music singer. I remember as a kid, I remember somehow picturing myself in these cool, fun, almost like I could see myself in a movie, but I didn't see myself as a movie star or being on a show. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like a weird, maybe it was
your imagination
maybe there was a little manifestation into something I got to do. I don't know, but I remember like Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer. I read all those books, Mark Twain, and wrote.
Right,
and I remember used to could almost see myself living out.
You transport yourself there in your imagination.
But it wasn't like, one day I'm going to be on TV, man. One day I'm going to get a chance to talk with
like
Kirk
an
Cameron.
Olympic athlete who's been training since they were 4 years old, and one day they win the gold medal.
Correct.
Like I never had that feeling.
Correct. And it's like, and it's cool to hear your story of talking about acting. Well, obviously there was a natural God-given ability that you as an entertainer. When you come in there 8 or 9, I'm not sure. Yeah, you can be told to say yes or no, sir, and maybe at best put your dirty socks and underwear in the hamper if your mama. But most time we failed at that. Like, come on, brush your teeth, go to bed. But you was able to just kind of turn it on, and you had a natural ability to, like somebody said, this man right here, or this young kid is an entertainer, and like they saw that probably before you knew you was.
It's funny. I don't like talking about myself too much, and I actually don't think I'm a very good actor. I was actually very, very shy when I was a little kid, and I hated standing up in front of people. So it wasn't even like I had this natural entertainment ability. I was actually very hesitant to ever want to do that. And I look back now and I say, there's actors who are just way better and more talented than I am. I've had a chance to do some acting, and I can get by. But I look and see that maybe the most significant things that I've been able to be a part of was learning about the faith, learning about the blessing of living in this country. My dad was a teacher. My grandma and grandpa were teachers. And now I get to share things with people through the movies I'm a part of, like Fireproof.
Yes.
Or like The Way of the Master, an evangelism show, talking to people on the streets about Jesus. Or Monumental, about the biblical roots of this nation. So I could do a little of that, but it's almost like a means to a greater end, and that is to bring truth and hope and courage to people. And I think, now that fires me up, which is actually what I really wanted to do when I had dreams of being a doctor. I wanted to bring hope and healing.
You was wanting to be a servant even then.
So in a way, I'm helping people, just not in the way I thought.
Well, I can disagree with you on this. You are a hell of an actor. You're a great actor, and like I said, that's just part of your humility, which everybody loves. But you are an amazing actor.
I'm an actor, though. I could be faking that humility.
You could be faking it. I don't even know.
Yeah,
I watched some stuff with Sean Penn the other day. I don't know who the guy is. It's like what. But at the end of the day, you're right. I think that is the greater story. Maybe that was just it. The whole growing pains was setting you up for what you're going to do. Because if you look at Hollywood in general, and this is straight from old country boy from the South looking into it and being fans of a lot of the movies and shows and things I've seen, but it looks like there is an element of corruption and weirdness there that can suck a lot of people in too.
Oh yeah,
and you did not get caught up in that, and that in itself, because you look at, some of these actors you was with, River Phoenix. Dead. Corey Hart. But look, you hear what he said. Obviously he went through a lot of different things, from potential pedophilia to, and the story. Look at what's going on now. What is the behind the scenes of the P. Diddy? Look at all the actors that's involved in that. I don't know the truth, but overall it doesn't look like a safe place to just turn your youngins loose and say, here you go. No. Here, Hollywood director, you can have him. I'll come back. He likes peanut butter and jelly, by the way. Take care of him. Don't do anything bad.
Yeah. Well, and now it's not even really safe to send your kids to public school, because
I believe that too.
They're checking out pornographic books in their own library, and they're seeing things now. If it's not on their phone, it's on their friend's phone in the bathroom, that would send a man to jail. And they're just allowing that to happen. So we live in a broken, hurting world, and I think that there's reason to get excited to be alive right now, because every revival and every great awakening, every great comeback story has always happened throughout history during times of moral decline, spiritual apathy, political corruption, and economic collapse. When things get darkest, that's the time that the family of faith has opened their eyes and said, what are we doing? We've forgotten the most important thing. We've forgotten God. We've got to get back to the basics: faith, family, gratitude for our country, and we got to fight for what's right. And then you see a resurrection of good times and strong men and blessing who are willing to protect what matters. And I think that we're there right now.
I think you're right. And you're right that if you, any type of, even the atheists who might want to sit here and not declare the same God that we declare as our Lord and Savior, that historical wheel cannot be denied that this is what happens.
Yeah.
As soon as all this things that you name, when it starts happening, there's usually a collapse.
Yeah.
And then somewhere, someplace, pick up the pieces and you start building again. And the people that are strong, these strong men, make it safe again and weak, only for this corruption to come back in. Maybe it's the devil. And there was something you said the other day that I heard you on. It might have been your podcast because, there was a question. A lot of people saying, well, Donald Trump's the Antichrist. And I remember thinking, I can't make that make sense. And you put it in good words. I thought maybe repeat that again. Some of that stuff you was talking about, which I thought you said it very well.
Well, I love to study history and I love to study the scriptures. And a lot of people get confused. They actually turn on Fox News to try to interpret the book of Revelation. Mm-hmm. Fox News and Israel and Iran is not your interpreter of the book of Revelation or the book of Daniel. We ought to let the Bible interpret itself and then watch throughout history to see when these things take place. And so when it comes to things like the Great Tribulation and it comes to the Antichrist or the man of lawlessness, all of this stuff, people have been speculating that Ronald Reagan was the Antichrist because he has the number 666. And I'll tell you how. They said, well, look at how many letters are in Ronald. R-O-N-A-L, 6. How about Wilson? That's his middle name. W-I. 6. Reagan, R-E-A-G. 6. And then, or it was Hitler, or it was Stalin.
I've heard Obama.
Or it was Obama, or it's Trump. Okay.
Putin.
No. If you understand, you can find Antichrist in the book of 1 John. You can find references to a spirit of Antichrist, which John said was already present and that there were many Antichrists in his day. Well, when was that? That was 2,000 years ago when he wrote the book. Mm-hmm. So if you just do a little study of history, you'll find out that Great Tribulation destroyed Israel and its temple 40 years after Jesus died and resurrected, and they were absolutely decimated. There were lawlessness, there were men of lawlessness, there was the spirit of Antichrist that was unleashed, and heresy plagued the church in the early centuries, and many of these things have taken place. So people, though, get others real excited, when they start saying that, hey, what you're seeing happening right now is the book of Revelation playing out in front of your eyes. But I think we need to pause, take a break, and read some historians and find out why every generation keeps saying the same thing and everybody's wrong. Maybe Jesus was right on the timing of these things. And if we just study our Bibles and let the scriptures interpret themselves, we'll get a better understanding and we won't get ourselves all tied up in these crazy prophecy knots.
Exactly. It kind of gets into that large to where there's nobody. There's no, I'm sure, like we can have our own assumptions of how the prophecy is and start checking the boxes like, okay, that did happen. Yeah. But then, did that happen just yesterday or did that happen 2000?
There was an earthquake. Wait a minute. There was a war and a rumor of war. Oh, wait a minute. Then all of a sudden that, well, wait a minute. We've had those things for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
So it's safe to say, okay, that could have happened yesterday, but that's happened 200 years and 2,000 years and even 4,000 years. Yeah.
But it sells books and it sells out prophecy conferences because there's a certain excitement to the idea that we could be the terminal generation that sees all these things take place and the return of Christ. But again, people have made those predictions for a couple thousand years since they were made. And, I wouldn't want to make any predictions like that because biblically, you declare yourself to have some sort of a prophecy and make a prediction and you're wrong. Speaking for the Lord, those guys got stoned to death in the scriptures in the Old Testament.
That's true.
So I don't think that's wise to do.
And another thing that I've always thought was interesting, because you'll see it anytime you open up a Facebook app or anything, you'll have saying, "End the times are near." And I think to myself, they could be right, but describe time to God. Is that 1,000,000 years? Is it 200 years? Is it tomorrow? in God's timing, I don't think he's in that big of a hurry. If he were, we would all.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's almost like, obviously, but I think for me, when I get confused in it or get bogged down, I get mad at myself because, like, why am I allowing this to even worry me? Because you get, again, back to your simple way you look at things, it gives me a good perspective of saying, this is the best way to look at it. I don't need to really worry about that. God's got that part figured out. I might have my opinion on it, but I'm not going to sit here and do endless videos on it to sit here and say, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. I don't know. It just gets to the point to where it's almost like people love the negative energy and the doomsday part of it. And so at the end of it, it's like, man, well, if we just believe, it's going to work out.
Yeah,
it's going to work out.
I'm with you, Michael. I'm not part of the hysterical group of doomsday prophets. Mm-hmm. That I'm just not down with that group. I think of what you said earlier. What if people in the past who maybe went through the Civil War, or how about the Pilgrims? How about the people who went through the Revolutionary War against England? If they had this attitude that, man, the sky has fallen, it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket now, and you know what? It's okay because this world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. Where would you and I be right now? No, they said, look, God's in control. He's going to do the things that only he can do, but I'm supposed to do the things that I'm supposed to do, and that is fight for what's right, protect my family,
correct.
Make sure that they are that they've got a living, breathing example of what a Christian is, and I'm gonna plant seeds of truth, beauty, and goodness for my kids, because if this place is still here in the next 50 years, they're gonna have to live in it.
That's correct.
So I'm not going to try to play like I've got some crystal ball. I'm going to just say, look, God's got this in his hands, and I'm going to be faithful today.
I think that's a brilliant advice. And as a matter of fact, when I think about that, everything is always in perspective of what you get used to living in. Like talking about growing up rural and eating a squirrel. I was telling the guys that old 63 Chevrolet, well, now I've redone it. I've put I put air in it. It always had heat. I put air condition. I put power steering in it.
Yeah.
I put disc brakes. A 63 truck didn't come with disc brakes, old drum brakes. You had to pump them suckers. It was like a dang workout at Gold's Gym just to get the thing to stop in 63, And so I laugh because I took my wife the other day, me and my son and my wife went to go eat. And she had the air conditioning on, but it had those old vinyl seats. She's like, my legs are sticking to the seat, and this thing is loud. I feel like you can smell the gas in here. And I'm sitting here, and I'm laughing, and I'm thinking, honey, it's a 63, but this thing is way nicer now than it was a 63. But I remember in high school, it had none of that. It didn't have power steering.
And it was the coolest thing.
It was the coolest, and I thought, I never remember being hot in it. I remember quickly getting on the road and getting that air blowing through the truck to cool off. But I thought I was the coolest kid in high school to just drive up with them old glass pipes popping. And so it is funny, we're talking about raising kids. And then I started thinking about all this Armageddon thing, and I kind of laughingly thought to myself, it's like, man, people are looking up in the sky looking for these nukes to come overhead and to blow us up. And I'm thinking, if I was a war strategist, all you got to do is just turn the lights off in New York City. Yeah. All you got to do is just turn off cell service. All you got to do is just turn off Wi-Fi.
And the kids would melt down. And I'm not sure
you would have to have a fight. I think people would almost get to the point they'd jump off a building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think we need something to blow us up at this point because we've weakened ourselves to being spoiled to let just all the fast food restaurants shut down. And so that's where, in one way, I was starting to get more of a peace of mind of especially sitting on the porch of the farm and thinking, man, we're going to be all right. I mean, my wife and kids are going to be fussing that maybe the electricity's out, but we will not perish. We'll just have to readjust and get used to an uncomfortable situation that soon will become comfortable, possibly. Yeah. Because growing up, we didn't have air conditioning in a southern house. I mean, you would think that's not doable. You wouldn't think that would be optional. But it was optional, and think about it, people didn't even have electricity in the South.
Yeah,
people didn't have heat in Colorado. Can you imagine being in Colorado in the middle of January?
Yeah.
And it was just, you had to go cut firewood to stay warm? people made it. People
Right.
were happy. They were
Right.
still following Jesus. They were still happy times. They still picked their guitar around the front porch and sipped coffee with the family. It's just the times we live in. People are so nervous about their comforts that they don't realize what you think is comfortable, somebody has never got. Some people are living in caves right now. I heard it was a Air Force pilot that was talking about the combat missions he was in Afghanistan. He said, one thing I realized real quick, nothing we could do on the ground or air to make these people's life any worse. They're living in caves. They don't have anything to eat hardly. They're believing if they die, they got 7 virgins in heaven. So it's all perspective. He's like, I don't think America realizes just how great we do have it.
Yeah.
Even those same people rioting in the streets of L.A., they still go back and whether it's a little Camry or whatever, they turn their air conditioning on and drive to their apartment and turn go put a microwave dinner in or stop by and get something to eat. They're not starving. It's not as bad as they think. And so I don't know. I know that might not make sense with a little bit of the rambling I went on, but sometimes it's just like that. You start thinking deep and you realize, like, man, just to where you've been, to where you are now,
right?
And just thinking now, you living on a farm and got chickens. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron's got chickens and learning how to hunt, man. I love it.
Well, I don't have the farm yet. I've got the tractor, but I've only got maybe a quarter of an acre.
That's enough.
So
but don't you have chickens now? Didn't you get your chickens?
Yeah. So we started the chicken factory back up again. We had a couple dozen in California when the kids were small. Now with our granddaughter, we've got 9 more.
Are they laying good yet, or
not yet? They're still pullets, so they're getting there. And we lost one of them to the wiener dog. Got a hold of one of them.
The adventurous weenie dog found that he likes chicken nuggets. The weenie
dog took one of them out, and so we've got 8, and each one of them lays a different color egg. You know what I found out about chickens?
The Easter eggers.
You got the Easter eggers. They've got all these breeds and all these really cool color eggs: blue eggs, green eggs, brown eggs, white eggs. And did you know this? There's a little trivia. The color of a chicken egg corresponds to the kind it is, the breed, and the color of the hen's earlobes.
Did not know that.
The chicken's got a hole in her head for an ear, and a little patch of skin that looks like an earlobe, and the color of the earlobe will tell you what color the egg is going to be, whether it's brown or whether it's a blue,
a little
green,
lighter or beige,
or white. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not.
Useless chicken information.
It's still awesome, man. Chickens are amazing. As a matter of fact, you step out. My wife is up to about 40 now, maybe more.
You got 40 chickens here?
We got more chickens. Matter of fact, you step outside of this room and you about going to step on chicken crap. And the chickens have figured out, you know what's nice? Let's hang out in the shade of the barn on that cool concrete.
Yeah.
So guess where, they think it's good to leave their little scat piles, their droppings right there on the barn. Yeah. So I'm constantly blowing out my barn.
Is there anything better than just going and getting eggs out of your own chicken coop and then cracking them? And they're so good for you. We were taught as kids that eggs were bad. Yes. You can't eat eggs. But now they're the healthiest thing ever. They got all these amino acids and proteins and just good everything because you think about it, what's inside that egg will make a whole chicken. Yeah. I mean, if you take a steak, what's in that steak won't make a whole cow.
Nope. But that's the whole
but
protein.
A whole chicken is in it. It's got everything.
It's unbelievable.
For life. And I have 4-6 eggs a day.
I love eggs. But in our time, it didn't matter if you was country or out in the city. We grew up, especially our age demographic, I always thought that if you ate a bunch of eggs, you got too much cholesterol and you was going to have a heart attack. I mean, I really thought that. I was a young age. I thought, can't eat a lot of eggs.
They know that's not the case anymore. And that's what's so cool about, hunting your own animals, growing your own produce, whether it's vegetables or eggs.
It's clean
or deer,
too, man.
Cow, goat, sheep.
It's milk. Clean, and even a cool step too, Kurt, what we have a chance to do here on my farm in Georgia, man, we're planting crops not just for us to use for the vegetables, but we're planting just for the wildlife, so they're eating this, and so we take way less than we obviously put back, and so the animals here are so healthy and so fat. The meat is so pure that
you could feel so good about feeding that to your kids.
Unbelievable. If it feels good when you take it to the homeless shelters. It feels good when you donate 7 or 8 deer a year to families around here that you can pay the processing fee, or we can cut up, make sausage, and
you got bees.
Yeah. I don't have bees. But I got friends and neighbors that do the beekeeping, and I get some honey
too.
And I don't know much about that. I want to learn more about that, But everything else, I got a little old catfish pond down there, and I keep it stocked with channel cat. Well, just because every once in a while you might want to eat a channel cat. I got a little Phil Robertson. I just want to fry me up a catfish, Yeah. And so it's pretty amazing. And as a matter of fact, to get back on that, even the school system, my wife and I have talked many times about, we've got one kid left that's in the public school system. And here where I live, we have a great public school system.
Good.
However, it's only as strong as what the curriculum they're forced. So many of the teachers over there are almost having to disobey orders
to be good.
Yeah. And that seems so corrupt to me.
It is.
And I think that was a misinformation too when Trump talking about dismantling the Department of Education. Well, that sounds on the surface is so bad, but then more I started to realize that could be very good. It's gotten so corrupt as the indoctrination of what they're and they have more authority in some cases state-wise than us.
Well, what they got is this, right?
Cash money.
They got
that
cash money that they say, hey, if here, we'll give you money, we'll help you with your schools, and here's what you need to do in return. And if you don't do it, if you don't push, saying boys can be girls and girls can be boys, if you don't push the pronoun stuff and the other things, well, then we're going to turn the money switch off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the school is like, well, we need it because we become dependent upon it. Like you said earlier, you become dependent on all this flow of cash. And then they say, well, we're going to lose our job. We have to shut down, shrink our. And so they cave and they go with it. But if you take all that away and you say, look, let's have the people in your state decide what your kids in Georgia are going to learn. You guys decide the curriculum. Don't depend on somebody in Washington.
Yes.
And let's have the parents in your community get on the school board and decide in your community what you want so that even the state's not going to dictate what your kids are going to learn. That then puts the most important thing, education, into the hands of parents and teachers and grandparents right in your community. That's where it ought to be.
And it's maddening, truly maddening that ain't a simple solution to a major problem. Because here's why I knew there is a problem, is because by nature, I think the majority of the men and women who sign up to go to school to learn early childhood or become a teacher, they have that same spirit in their heart that you did wanting to be a doctor. They're wanting to be there for their kids.
Yeah, just like my dad, just like my grandma, just like my grandpa.
Love it. Absolutely. But I remember Waylon, all the teachers he's had have been amazing over there. But here's why I still know there's a problem. Because every year at the beginning of the school, you get to go over there. So I always go as an active parent. I make sure I get to go to those first meetings where you meet the teacher, come say hey to the kids, to the teachers and staff. Every time I just bluntly come in, not disrespectfully, I'm like, listen, can I look at your books? You're going to be reading my boy. They're like, sure. And so they're like, I read this. This is what we do. And like, well, what did y'all and then I'll finally just within 30 seconds, I'll say, listen, y'all not pushing this woke and y'all not doing this, and this, are you? Y'all here to teach my kid and to discipline him when he's being rude and obnoxious. And here's how I want my kid to be at my home. And I want this to be an extension. And I hope y'all not pushing this. And every time, every one of them agreed that they're not. But this is what they do. They'll say, we're not doing that. And I'm thinking, why you got to whisper that?
Yeah.
Wait, you ain't got to worry about that here. I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Right.
I don't believe in that. And I'll say, why you got to whisper that?
Yeah.
Why can't you say, no, we're going to teach your son that he's a boy. We're going to teach your son to say yes sir and no sir. And we're going to teach your son if he misbehaves, and I'm fine. If you need to bring him back out to paddle, if I trust you enough to teach my kid, I want to trust you enough to discipline my kid and what you're going to talk to him and tell him about. And so at the end of the day, that's where I leave and I'll feel good, the fact that I love that teacher we got.
Yeah.
But she had to whisper under her breath and look over her shoulder to make sure somebody from the state or possibly above her, superior, didn't hear her say that because she could get reprimanded.
That's right. And do you know
that's wrong.
That's so wrong. Our teachers, our good teachers, don't deserve that.
They don't deserve that.
And our kids deserve to be taught by teachers who can just come out right out loud and talk to them about what's right and wrong and do the right thing. But that kind of threatening, that kind of pressure that comes down from the administration on those teachers, and that happens to doctors too.
Yes,
doctors
same thing.
will say, look, I don't believe in forcing people to inject their children with experimental medical products.
Same whispers.
But you know what? I can't say it out loud because I could lose my license.
Yes, I mean, they're looking over their shoulder like.
Right. That poisons the entire system and the integrity of education or medicine or law or politics. It poisons the system when you become dependent upon the money and they pressure you from the top down. And, you know, at the end of the day, that comes down to, I think, people's hearts have to be changed. We have to touch people's hearts and minds and say, do the right thing. You know it in your heart. You've got a conscience. Listen to it. Don't be bribed by money. Don't be bribed by somebody who tells you that they're going to get you something if you compromise your convictions. Don't do that. You can, but that's going to take you down a road that at the end of the day you're going to regret, and your kids are going to pay for it too. So if we do the right thing, it's going to be okay.
I agree. And you and your family have been staunch on just preaching the right thing when it comes to that, because it's not about homeschooling, ain't about isolating your kid and not having them part of the public. It's about the fact that because they're going to encounter, it don't matter what you do, whether you're going to get to see good and bad, and you're going to get to decide, you know, where you take your steps when you become adult. But at that young of age, if you're indoctrinated at that young of age, why do you think Hitler was trying to get your kids and go ahead and teach them to be a Nazi?
Exactly.
Why? I mean, why do you think any communist country is trying to do certain things to? You got to indoctrinate the kids.
That's right.
First.
That's why the drag queens are showing up at the story hour for the pre-kindergarten kids at the library.
Yes. Meantime, can you imagine the bone collector coming to talk to them about how to archery hunt? Me and James go over there and teach them how to skin a squirrel? Once again, they'd be having you on the podcast like, I think your son and Michael Waddell's the Antichrist. They're talking about eating a squirrel. It's like, what is wrong with this simple situation that they got out of context?
But you know what's encouraging, though, Michael, is that when I've shown up at these libraries that told me, we don't want your kind, you know, unless you're wearing a rainbow dress, don't come to our library. These are public libraries, by the way. These aren't private gay libraries. These are public libraries paid for by tax dollars of hardworking families. And when I show up there, guess who shows up in droves? Moms, dads, kids, grandparents, teachers, business people, community members, and they say, we're with you. We want to sing God Bless America. We want our children to know how to pray, to say yes, sir, no, sir. We want them to read stories with a good moral lesson in it. We don't want them learning all this woke garbage from the Purple Hair Platoon and the Rainbow Mafia that's cramming this stuff down their throats, scaring teachers that they got to whisper about the right thing. We don't want that. And it's always it's that minority group of elites that have money and a loud voice, and they're really the bullies, telling everybody else that they're the bullies.
Yes.
They're the ones telling everybody else to be tolerant, and they're the most intolerant of all. And so once we recognize who we are and that there's millions and millions and millions of us and a small group of them, if we link arms and we do the right thing together and we play the long game, we're going to win.
Well, it's pretty obvious, that old saying, together we stand, divided we fall.
There you go.
And it's been proven time and time again that there's money that funds to even take this minority and take these hired actors, which that is the uncertainty. You don't really even know if they're sincere rioters right now in L.A. and these big cities, or were they paid? Are they doing a job I
talked to a police chief in downtown. Well, he was a police officer in charge of the security for a library reading that I did in downtown Minneapolis, where there were riots in previous years. It's gotten so bad down there that moms won't bring their kids to the public library anymore because all there is down there is gangs and protesters and fighting. And he told me, this is the first time I've seen moms and dads bringing their kids to the public library, and it's because you're here, and there's no way you would have got here if the last president of the library hadn't gotten fired, and that was a miracle because of the situation. He said, I believe God has you here because there's no way in hell that those people will let you come to this library because of what you stand for. And he said, and on top of it, he said, there are paid actors who come here to start all this garbage. And he said, when all that stuff happened during COVID, he said, we would arrest people who were throwing bricks through buildings, and they told us that they came from Europe. They were from other countries, paid to come to the United States, start riots, and he said that they admitted to him that if they got themselves arrested, they got paid extra.
Holy cow. So
these aren't even Americans living in the
cities. They're not even on conviction. They're just paid.
They're paid actors to come in and do this. And, you know, if you don't have integrity, hey, it's just a means to an end. It's just how we get it done. And they pay people to come in and start this stuff. And that's what's going on out in Los Angeles, too. Yeah. These aren't even people who care. They care about this.
They're getting their money. They're getting paid, and it causes a big...
Yeah. I'm not saying that there aren't people with real problems and plights, because there are. And they're looking to come to the United States of America because there's freedom here. There's protection here. That's why millions of people break the law to get in here. But there's also those who want to come in and fundamentally change and take over this country and run it for themselves, and they will pay people to come in and act like they're part of us, but they're not part of us.
That's exactly right. It's a complete bait and switch. It is theatrics. It is complete theatrics.
You know what it's like? It reminds me of the decoys. Yeah. When we're duck hunting, we set those decoys out there, or you get that turkey decoy on the front of the barrel of your gun.
Here they come.
All of a sudden, they start coming in. But you're tricking them. Yeah. Actually, you're ready to kill them, and they don't realize it. And that's what they're doing to us. They set these decoys in there, and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, I'm with you. I'm for the country. I love this." And or I'm for human rights, and I'm for human rights, just like you're for human rights. But really, they're out to destroy you, and they're just sucking you in with a decoy, acting like they're part of your group, but they're not.
They think they can separate themselves, even the ones that maybe have conviction, to think that they're that sympathetic to a cause. Or like, you know, if it is the case where you hear, you know, a certain situation where they're saying death to America or death to the infidel, I think somewhere, somehow, somebody who sympathizes with their rights think that they're just going to spare them. Like, hey, not me, you know, boom, and they're dead too. No, they're not separating. It's kind of like the coyote that runs around. He don't care if he can catch the mama who broke their leg or the baby deer that just was born. The coyote's coming to eat. So he's not getting up to the deer, and the deer's been able to say, hey, you know, I've always been your friend.
Yeah,
you know,
he doesn't care.
Well, that's fine, because then you're easier. You're sitting there talking to him, I'll just eat you now. Yeah. And I think that's the ignorance of some of the I don't understand that part of it, but there's no doubt there's a lot of theatrics. It's very obvious to see. And I think the biggest thing that's made me feel obvious that it is, because there are those people, but it's a tiny sliver of minority group that will do that, because, man, I'm a talker. I enjoy when they said or mentioned about a podcast, like, man, you can't shut me up. I like to talk anyway. So podcast great. But when I travel to the airport, still we travel all over the country, the world, and I'm always striking conversation. And I purposely will go out of my way to try to, in some cases, say, this guy, by the way this person dressed or looked, should hate me. And I'm like, what's up, man? And they're like, how you doing? And most of the time, the situation, the way they talk, don't even match the way they dress. Mm-hmm. And like, man, what you up to? He's like, man, I'm going hunting. Like, man, my granddaddy used to hunt. Next thing you know, I'm talking with a person who's dressed completely identical, possibly a different skin color, possibly a whole different, and very, very, very rare in striking up conversations with people in the airport do I get just complete hate or immediately tell me I'm this or that. Mm-hmm. They're intrigued. And then vice versa, I'm intrigued about their life. Most people don't do a lot of that, but I purposely go out of my way because I just want to see, is the media lying to me? And I found that majority of human beings, we have way more in common that really divide us. Yeah. And then when you get to talking about these bigger things, hunting, fishing, the good Lord, you start finding way more common ground. Yeah. I'm not saying you won't get to a situation where it's like, well, I don't like the way Trump says this, or I'm not a big, I can't stand Kamala Harris or whatever. You'll have the people that pick and choose their teams, but overall, what would bind us is way deeper than what separates us. But you don't know that watching the media, and you definitely don't see that. And so it's just odd to me how people are susceptible to being played that way, and it angers me. I was like, man, are we not waking up? And it happens on both sides. I'm not saying it happens just on the liberal side. It happens on the conservative side. Mm-hmm. We all get baited in, and we get this pushed on us, and we kind of react a certain way. But in reality, just shaking hands and talking to people, it's amazing what you find.
That's right.
So
yep,
it's crazy. Well, Kurt, I've kept you so long. There's so much we could talk about. Man, I could talk to you for 5 hours, and I know you got your final you got your staff meeting, so obviously y'all get to celebrate what all y'all was able to do and kind of break bread and spend some time eating some good groceries and high-fiving another good week. But definitely before you get out of here, if from a chance to an opportunity to support Camp Firefly, is there a website or anything? What could somebody do to come and still support that organization?
Man. Thank you. Yeah. To learn more about Camp Firefly, you could go to campfirefly.com. Mm-hmm. We have a website, and it'll show you all kind of pictures, so you'll get a taste of what we do at the camp. We have just activities we have a mom's queen for the day makeover. You know, she gets her hair cut and colored, and a massage and manicure, pedicure. We take the dads out golfing, and we go have a burger and a beer around a campfire, and we talk about, the struggles of being husbands and fathers, especially with a child with a life-threatening illness.
Yeah.
Hawaiian luau's and Mexican fiestas and water skiing and a wild safari, animal park, and all kinds of things where these families just make memories. And the website will show you how you can support and just kind of feel like you're there.
Man, that's awesome, Kurt. Well, thank you for coming by, buddy. I'm looking forward to, we talked about it years ago. I definitely want to share camp with you sooner or later. We definitely got to get, for sure, James, any of you youngins that want to come, man. And again, if you had more time, we could get you out there and show you what a pit bike is. But
yeah,
Chelsea would not only skin your head, she'd skin my head when I sent you back that dinner all scraped up, tired and sweaty, and possibly in a sling from wrecking on one of them tabletops.
You know what? I've never been squirrel hunting. That sounds like fun.
It is so fun, and I got two of the finest squirrel dogs that you'll ever meet out there.
Yeah.
and they're spoiled right now.
Can you just like ride through the property on a pit bike and just shoot the squirrels while you're
pretty much when that dog's barking, there's a squirrel in that tree. You'll think ain't no way, and you'll look and look, and it's amazing. But yeah, you can. I got my dogs trained on fat boy style, I call it, so I can get in the side by side. I can get that old Kawasaki Ridge out there, and we can just cruise around and be talking, and we'll stop and listen. And I got GPS collars, and them old dogs, they'll get a squirrel treed, and you'll walk to the tree. And a lot of times what I'll do for exercise, I'll just go out there and strike off with the dogs, and you might cover 6 or 7 miles, and I'll get our guys. It's the most fun thing. You're not worried about how old they are.
I like
just
that.
Fun.
And
kids love it too.
It's nice that you don't have to just sit still for 4 hours.
No.
You're on the move.
You're on the move.
You're feeling good.
You're on the move, and it's so fun. Kids like it, and the dogs just love it. And it's good to see them dogs work, and you can get you up a mess of squirrels. I got a lot of families around here that still love to eat squirrels, and I still eat a few, but not much anymore because I grew up eating a lot of them. But I got plenty of folks that like to eat the squirrel, and I don't know, man. It's fun. It's just another one of those resources that you got out there. But it makes it easier when you got the dogs, for sure. So, yeah, for sure. Y'all need to come down during the fall, squirrel hunting or whatever. But all of it's fun. But it's so good to hang out with you again, and I just appreciate all that you've done. Your whole family, man, you've been inspiration. And you have seen so much of good, but you've also been right there in the armpit to where – what I mean by that, there's not a lot of people like you that has persevered through what you've seen and easily one step in the wrong direction. And there's no doubt, man, the good Lord's been with you and you've been with him. And so it's just, I don't know, man, you've been a blessing. It's been a blessing to get you to know even more, buddy. But thank you, man. I appreciate it. You're one heck of a man, and it's been even great to get to meet your family too more. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thanks for inviting me to your house, to your farm, and I'll take you up on that offer to go hunting.
We're going to do it.
Let's go.
We're going to do it. We got each other's number. We're going to definitely make it happen for sure, man. Thank you, Kirk.
Sounds good. Thank you.